Speaking of the holidays and the season of giving, if you're at the Champlain Centre Mall, you can stop by the Light Up a Life Memory Tree and help support the Hospice of the North Country and its mission to provide care for patients who are at the end of their lives or nearing the end of their lives, as well as providing emotional, spiritual, and grief support for their families. The Memory Tree display at the mall honors the memory of your loved one, while at the same time helping to raise funds for the Hospice of the North Country and their mission. And we are pleased to be joined now by Cathlyn Lamitie, who is the Director of Development and Communications at Hospice of the North Country. Welcome. We appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you. I'm so happy for the opportunity to talk to you about hospice.
Thank you. Well, it can be difficult to talk about how to approach end-of-life care for patients and their loved ones. Many of us personally know how beneficial hospice care can be, especially if it's helped us care for a loved one at the end of their life, and at the same time helped us navigate what can be such difficult and emotional times. For those who may not be familiar, though, what is hospice care?
Hospice is comprised of many different facets of care, from mental, emotional, spiritual. We think of it as a comprehensive support team for families who have a loved one or a friend who is at end of life. In other words, their healthcare provider has said, you have 6 months or less to live. So hospice is medical care, emotional care, and spiritual care.
And how is it different from long-term care?
So hospice care, and we call it palliative care, are very similar, but the biggest difference is in order to have hospice care, you have to give up curative treatment. One of my coworkers has a great way of saying it. It's when you choose to focus on care as opposed to the cure.
Hospice focuses on helping the patient be as comfortable as possible in their final days.
Yes. We like to think of it as living your life to the fullest. So when we meet patients and families, we sit down and we ask them what their goals are. What are their end-of-life goals? How do they imagine spending the rest of their time? Whether it's mostly just spending time with family and friends. Sometimes we have patients who would like to go to their granddaughter's wedding, and we can do what we can to facilitate that happening. So the focus for people on hospice care is to look at themselves, and sometimes it's called life review. They can sit with a volunteer or a social worker and look at how they've lived their life, and if they have any regrets, our social worker can sit down and talk to them and help them through that.
And often it's done right in their own home. It can also be in a hospital or in a nursing home, but many times the patients will choose to have hospice care right in their own home.
Yes, we can provide hospice care in hospitals and nursing homes, and nursing homes are certainly the home of some of our patients.
But for many people, they like the comfort of being able to go home.
Yes.
Or be in their home.
Yes. Yep, surrounded by a support system, their loved ones, their friends.
There are hospice facilities. We know there's one in Colchester over at UVM Medical Center. Are there any here in the North Country, actually facilities where they can go and receive the hospice care there?
Not in our area, not in Franklin or Clinton counties. There are no hospice houses. We do all of our work within the home.
For many, it seems there has long been a hesitation to talk about hospice. We know it's difficult for folks that are at the end of their life. Are people getting better at talking about hospice, thinking about it earlier, or in many cases, is it something that many families wait until the final days to think about hospice?
Yes, that's certainly the case. People are hesitant to talk about end of life or serious illness. It is an uncomfortable topic. That's why we encourage people to have several conversations throughout the years. There's a website called the Conversation Project, and they have excellent tools to help people talk to their healthcare provider, their family and friends. It asks you questions like, how do you see yourself spending time at the end when you're facing a terminal illness? It helps you with the questions to ask your healthcare provider. It helps you come up with discussion points with your loved ones and your family. So I definitely recommend people check that out. It does make it easier to have those conversations. No one knows how long somebody's going to live, but with the guidance of your healthcare provider, they can have a good idea of the natural disease progression, so they have a good idea of, a 6-month time frame. But you can certainly be on hospice for longer than 6 months.
And we've seen a case of that just recently, and it's a national case that's getting a lot of attention. Former President Jimmy Carter and his wife Rosalind. Jimmy Carter 9-10 months ago announced that he was going to receive hospice care, and he has for all these months now. Again, I think the thought so many people have is that when you announce you're going into hospice care, that you only have a few days left to live.
Right.
And he's the perfect example of how people can receive months and months of care.
Yes, we're hoping that people do see that and recognize, this is something that I should look into, or be prepared for it now, educate myself on what hospice care is.
How does a family decide if it's time and if hospice care is right for them?
There are some signs, more trips to the emergency room, loss of appetite, more falls. There are signs that your loved one may be needing more support in the home. And opening the dialogue with your healthcare provider. You don't have to wait for your healthcare provider to talk to you about hospice. Simply ask them questions, and people can reach out directly to us. You don't need to get a physician referral to have a conversation with us. We would just say, let's say you're taking care of one of your parents. Talk to your parents first about hospice care, and then reach out to us, and then we can set up a day and a time where we sit down and we educate the family and the patient about exactly what is hospice care. And you can make a decision at that point.
And across the country, are more and more families using hospice care?
So New York is a special circumstance. We have the lowest utilization rate out of the country.
I saw that about 50th, I think, out of all the states.
Yes, it's.
And is that any idea why New York is so low?
Well, there are different reasons why. There are a variety of reasons. I'll talk about our area being rural. A lot of it is just not knowing, just not being aware that hospice is an option. So for our area, that's what we're finding. And we're doing things as an organization, different initiatives to educate the community, educate healthcare providers, so that we can have people more aware of, that we're here for you.
And you have partner agencies, for example, the United Way.
We are a partner agency of United Way, and they are amazing to work with, and they are one of the driving forces behind the funds that we do receive. So that is a big part of our fundraising program.
You have a fundraiser going on for the holidays at the Champlain Centre Mall in Plattsburgh. You have the Light Up a Life memory tree on display near the food court.
Yes.
And this is an annual fundraiser for you?
Yes, this year actually, I believe our 34th year of having the Light Up a Life. And it's so heartwarming to see those trees fill up every season, and there are people who come every year just to honor the memory of their loved one that passed.
Some local artists are also raising money for Hospice of the North Country. They've printed up some wonderful cards with artwork on the front by local artisans, and they generously are donating these cards to you folks to sell, and then the proceeds are going to you.
Yep, they have been selling these cards at area craft fairs and at the Strand. They're just beautiful, and it's incredibly generous of them to do that for our organization. We're so grateful, and they're beautiful.
And if folks would like to get some, can they still buy them? If not in time for the holidays, can they buy them as we head into the new year?
Yes, I would recommend that they contact our office in Plattsburgh, and we will help them get the cards.
They also could reach out to you if they have questions about hospice care.
Absolutely. And we hope that we can let people know, more people know, that hospice is a wonderful benefit for their family.
Cathlyn Lamitie, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.